So with Star Wars Celebration last week, we got a lot of news about upcoming Star Wars properties, but one of the most interesting things we got was a trailer for Andor, a series coming out later this summer. And there are some interesting tidbits that make me think that that show is going to teach us quite a bit about the inner workings of the Galactic Empire. So I figured today we could go over exactly what I'm hoping to see in Andor, and the implications I hope it has for our knowledge of the inner workings of the government of the Galactic Empire. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So, I'm going to start this off by just admitting it up front. When they first announced Andor as a series, I was kind of scratching my head, like, why are you focusing on this individual character? It didn't really seem like a logical choice to make when there were other, more upfront stories that seemed kind of more interesting to tell. It's very similar, honestly, to the way I felt about The Bad Batch, but I was pleasantly surprised with that series when it came out, and it just knocked all my expectations out of the way and told this incredible story about the Empire coming into being, sort of the galaxy dealing with the rise of the Empire. So, Andor, it seems poised to maybe do a similar thing. You see, some of the things we saw in the Andor trailer really make me think that we're going to get a really, really good look at the way politics in the Empire works. Specifically, politics in the Empire before the Emperor dissolved the Imperial Senate. So, when the Empire was a more politically dynamic place. You see, for those of you who don't know, during the events of A New Hope, it's mentioned in passing that the Empire has dissolved the Imperial Senate, believing that the Death Star is enough of a force to sort of keep the systems of the galaxy in line without needing representation within the government. Basically, during the first 20 years of the Empire's existence, a majority of its existence, the Empire maintained a Senate very similar to the Galactic Republic Senate, but with a lot less authority. In essence, it was really a tool to make the systems of the galaxy feel like they're being represented in a federal government that really wasn't taking their needs into account at all. And by the way, for anyone who's curious, after the Senate is dissolved, the Empire is maintained by a series of regional governors and moffs, all of which are basically members of the Imperial military. So that's why it's interesting to get a closer look at the way Imperial politics works before that major transition. So let's talk about what exactly in the Andor series made me think that we're going to get to see a lot of Imperial politics in this series. Let's start up with the thing that I saw a lot of people bringing up day one when the trailer dropped, and that's that we actually get to see in the trailer for a brief second the Imperial Senate. Now, this is clearly the same room that the Republic Senate was held in, but it appears to have had a paint job and some structural modifications following the duel with Yoda that Palpatine had during Revenge of the Sith. I think it's also worth noting that a lot of these sort of Senate seats seem to not be illuminated. This to me suggests that one by one senators are either leaving the Senate or their worlds are losing representation for one reason or another. In fact, I would assume that it was a relatively common punishment within the Empire, if a planet was to speak out against Imperial rule, to have their seat removed temporarily or permanently from the Imperial Senate, but that's just an assumption. And on top of that, we get to see Mon Mothma apparently serving in the Imperial Senate, a role which she filled for quite some time. This could be a great opportunity to show us how the Imperial Senate, well, it functioned like a Senate, and like the Senate of the Galactic Republic, was essentially powerless. We could see them making decisions and see throughout the greater galaxy how those decisions have little to no effect on the actual rules being enforced. So that's what I saw in the trailer that really made me think we're going to get a better look at the Galactic Empire and its internal workings. But there are a few more things from the trailer that are semi-related or unrelated that I'd like to bring up because I just think they're interesting things. One of the ships we see in the trailer are these dropships. These dropships seem a lot like some of the Imperial dropships we see the Empire using during the events of Force Unleashed 2, a game from Legends. So I am curious to see if we're seeing some vehicles from Legends make their way back to canon. Another interesting fact that I've seen some people point out is that some of these officials don't seem to be Imperials. Perhaps they're officials in the corporate sector, and perhaps these transports that we see are their forces as opposed to regular Imperial military transports. And obviously, on top of all of that, I'm excited to see the Rebel Alliance in their early days. See this rebellion sort of rising from the ashes, and get to see how this rebellion becomes the Rebel Alliance that we see in Rogue One. So, all in all, this is just another case of Disney showing me that a show that I had written off as like, why are they doing this? This is a weird topic to cover, is actually something very, very fascinating. And once again, I'm sitting here counting down the days until August 31st when we finally get to see what this show is all about. And I'm kind of hoping this turns out like The Bad Batch, a show that I'd written off, but it ended up actually giving us a great view of the Galactic Republic's transition into the Galactic Empire and how the galaxy dealt with it. And it's kind of interesting that a lot of the galaxy seemed pretty okay with the rise of the Empire. If you'd like to learn about why the galaxy allowed this tyrannical government to come to power, I'll leave a link up here to my video on that. And I'd like you to let me know down in the comments what you are most excited for about Andor. What do you hope to see in the show, and do you think I'm right when I say I really believe we're going to get a much better look at the interior workings of the Imperial government? And if you have anything else you'd like to see me cover in Star Wars, leave it down below in the comments. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.